for remote troubleshooting, that is an amazing feature and will be super useful. Hey everyone, Matt here from Wi-Fi Ninjas, and today in this video I'm going to be talking about Wi-Fi tools and the tool that I use on my MacBook Pro, which is Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. This is some software from a guy called Adrian Granados. He has got 3 different versions of the Wi-Fi Explorer currently, I believe, and I think it's a basic version which has got some very limited features, a standard version which has more features but is still quite limited, probably more targeted for just home-based users rather than actual wireless LAN professionals. And then there's the Pro version, which I use all the time at home or customer sites, if I'm traveling at an airport or hotel. Wi-Fi Explorer Pro is probably one of the first pieces of software that I will fire up to have a look at what's going on in the environment around me. So what I want to do is I want to take you guys through some of the ways I've got my Wi-Fi Explorer set up, and I want to show you some configurations, a little bit what it can do. But not only just that, I also have some devices here that are compatible and work with Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, which I will be showing you how to use them with Wi-Fi Explorer Pro and what you can get from them. Now, one of the devices that I have is a WLAN Pi. I have a version from the WLAN Pro, so it comes in this beautiful hard case, so it's all together. What I really like about the WLAN Pi is not only can you connect it to your Mac to be able to collect the information, the RF information into your Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, you can also install WLAN Pi at one of your customer sites and then come back home and then remote onto the WLAN Pi through Wi-Fi Explorer, and you'll be able to see all of your customers' RF information like you were just there, which, you know, for remote troubleshooting, that is an amazing feature and will be super useful. Another device that I have is a WiFi DBX. Now this will be able to look at spectrum information when it's connected to Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, which is again really nice and handy to be able to see that information if you have a WiFi DBX dongle, and then you can connect to your Mac and then see that in Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. And then the final device that I have, which when I found out that Wi-Fi Explorer was capable of looking at this information as well, I had to buy a dongle, but I didn't know if I did or didn't have any Zigbee devices around me, and this is a little Zigbee dongle. And now I will connect it to my Mac and show you that you can see that information in there, but I know that I do not have any Zigbee devices around, unfortunately. So let's take a look at the Wi-Fi Explorer Pro then. I will just share my screen so you guys can see. And when you first fire this up, if you're not a Wi-Fi engineer, this may be slightly overwhelming to you and you think, oh, where do I even start with this? So let's have a look at the very top left, and we can see that we're doing an active scan at the moment. So that means that my Mac is connected to my Wi-Fi, but it's also in the background scanning everything else that's going on with the wireless in my environment and pulling that information into Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. And then just slightly underneath where it says active, we can see we've got a little settings cog, and then next to it a box that's highlighted that says all. So that means that we are looking at both 2.4 gigahertz frequency and the 5 gigahertz frequency. And then just next to that we have open and secure. So if I was to select one of those, it would show if I have any open wireless networks in this environment, and then if the secure wireless networks. And then underneath that we have columns. And now columns play a massive part in Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. Is how you set up your Wi-Fi Explorer Pro is to be able to quickly see the information that you care about. So I have on my column set is the BSSID, the network name, which will be that the SSID, what the names are, and then the vendor. So we can see here my printer is a HP ink. And another thing that Adrian done that I really love is that not only he could have just been happy with having the text saying HP ink, but he went off and he found all of the logos for the different vendors, so you can identify the vendor by the logo, not just the name, which is an awesome thing that he's added in. Now device name, that will show up based on the device, not on Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. So if the device is advertising the device name, we will see that in here. So I have a bunch of SkyQ mini boxes, I have a SkyQ hub and a SkyQ box. And now I have the signal strength, and now the signal strength, I have it set up so that it's in dBm, and I don't need to see I think the default view you have a bar which will show you what the signal is as well as just the text, but for me I'm quite happy just to see this information in text format. And I like to what I tend to do with all of my tools that I use, I always filter with the signal going from the strongest to the weakest. So when I'm taking a look at the Wi-Fi Explorer Pro or any other the application I'm looking at, I can see what is the strongest signal and devices around from where I am. And now transmit power, that is a it is a transmit power from the access point, which has been added recently, I believe, to Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, which is something that I really like to be able to see, so we can see what power level is coming from the access point, how have they configured the access point for the different power levels. And then probably one of the most important columns is channel utilization. So how utilized are the Wi-Fi channels currently? And we can see that my Wi-Fi Ninja 2 network, well, yeah, that's got pretty high utilization because there's quite a few 2.4 gigahertz devices around here. I live in a block of about 40 different apartments on the middle floor, so we've got Wi-Fi all around me. But fortunately, my 5 gigahertz, as you will be able to see very soon, the utilization is generally quite low because there's not too many other wireless engineers around that know to use the higher part of the 5 gigahertz frequency and avoid all of that congestion on the Uni 1 band. And then the stations, we can see how many Wi-Fi clients are connected to the access points, and then we can see the channel information, so what channel are we looking at, and then the channel width, which is either, in most cases, hopefully on 2.4 there's going to be 20 megahertz, but on 5 gigahertz currently we can have 20, 40, 80 or even 160. But yeah, we'll have a look at that in a bit of a moment. So then MFP, which is management frame protection, I like to have this on because when I go to a client device, if they've got management frame protection enabled and there's a device that doesn't support management frame protection, they won't be able to connect. So that could be a reason why they're having Wi-Fi problems. And then the mode, so mode, basically what we're looking at here is what standard of Wi-Fi is the device that we're looking at. So we see it's got A/N and then G/N/AX. So that means what we can see in a few columns times is actually it supports up to Wi-Fi 6. And just before the generation column, we can see the streams. So how many spatial streams does the access point have? And then we have the amendments. So these are things like fast roaming, neighbor reports, or PSS transition. Have they got this enabled? Again, these could be other features that have been turned on a wireless network. If client devices do not support these amendments, then they could have problems with connecting to this wireless network. So just being able to fire up a scanning tool and being able to see this information so quickly is a really powerful and quick way to do some very fast troubleshooting, which for me saves so much time. And then fast transition, so this will either be turned off, or you can have it over the air or over the DS. And now we can look at the minimum basic data rates that are set, and the basic rates that are enabled, as well as what the maximum rate that we can achieve. So that's basically most of my columns, how I like to have it set up. But it's completely configurable. So however you want to have your Wi-Fi Explorer Pro set up, if you wanted to have that in there, you can if you wanted to have something else in there, you can add it in quite easily. If you want to remove it, think, oh, actually, I don't need to see that. That's not really that relevant for what I'm looking at. Or you want to rejig where you've got the columns, you can literally just drag and move it. So actually, I want to see the minimum basic rate over here, but I don't, so I'm just going to leave it over on this side. And then another really nice thing sometimes is that if you have an SSID that could be really, really long and it was taking up a whole bunch of space on your Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, if you just right click on the column, you can auto size column, and it will automatically rejig the columns down to a nice size again for you. So that's basically having a look at how I've got my columns set up currently. But if we if I just select for instance, my 2.4 gigahertz network, which is fairly heavily utilized considering there's not any clients connected to it, there's just a lot going on. But on the first tab that we see here, we can see network details, and we can see the same information that we're seeing along quite a lot of those columns, but in this table. And now we can see like a graph over time, so that so for the last what is the time now, 21:19, so for the last like 7 minutes the channel utilization of my 2.4 has been going up and down a bit. So we can see that information here very nice and easily. And if I just move on to signal strength, we can see over time like the signal strength from my network that I have got selected currently at the moment. And then now spectrum, this is probably the view that I use the most, is having a look at the spectrum. There's so much that I love about looking at the spectrum here from on Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, because I've got my network selected. That's why we see on here the channel 11, my access points, this is filled in green. So if I was to just escape off of it, now we can see just all of the SSIDs and the channels and what APs are on what channel. And because I've got selected to all, we're seeing the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz. But if I didn't have any 2.4 access points or anything around, I just wanted to focus on 5 gig, or I just wanted to focus on 5 gig anyway, I can come back to the top of Wi-Fi Explorer Pro and just hit 5 gigahertz. And now we can see just the 5 gigahertz band. And what I really, really like that Adrian has done with Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, if I just select my missed Wi-Fi Ninjas access point, I have my missed APs configured for 80 megahertz, so wide channels. But what we can see on here is that most of this channel is a dark red, but then we've got over on channel 52 all these lines going through the red color. Now what that means is that the primary channel for this access point on the 80 megahertz channel is 52. So this is just a really quick and easy way to be able to identify what is the primary channel on my bonded AP channels. So it's really nice and easy to be able to see that, which I really, really like. And then over here we have advanced details. So this is where we can come in and look at the going a bit deeper into what is actually happening, and we can take a look at a lot of information in here. So how I managed to get my transmit power, for example, in the information element, I found the TPC report, and where it says transmit power, I just selected it, and you can right click and apply as column. So that's how sometimes if you want to go and add a column to your Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, you may not see that option from like the drop down list, or when you want to add some more columns into here. If you don't see that, you can go to the advanced details, try and look for what you're looking for, then you can right click and add that as into your column. So again, another amazing feature from Adrian, and it's just great. So what else what wasn't clear, first of all, when I was looking at Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, is that this is kind of the standard view that you look at, but over in the top right hand corner there are these little boxes that you can click on. Now if I click on the left hand side, now we can see another column come onto Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, and this is a way of filtering. So say I just wanted to focus on just my Wi-Fi Ninja 2 2.4 gigahertz SSID. I can come over here and just select that, make sure I'm on my 2.4 gigahertz view, obviously, and then now I can just see my Wi-Fi Ninja 2. So it can get really confusing sometimes when you've got a whole lot of information going on the Wi-Fi Explorer Pro main page. If you want to filter that down to just one SSID, or even the different wireless standards, so just you want to look at, hey, what 802.11ax have I got out there on 2.4, you can just select it over here, and then if you wanted to go back to the view, you can just hit escape and it gets rid of the filter. But again, not one of those things that are just automatically obvious, but really helpful if you want to have a look at something quickly. And then I'm going to show you another thing as well that I found really nice that Adrian's integrated very recently. If you click on the right hand column view and click on this information, it's almost a bit like Adrian's AI. So I've got a 2.4 gig network selected, and what he is doing in the background, he's running some algorithms, basically, work out what could potentially be a reason why this isn't a great network for you to use. We've got this warning sign. It says 2.4 gigahertz only. It appears this network is 2.4 gig only. If this is your network and the access points support both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands, consider enabling the 5 gigahertz band as well. Otherwise, consider upgrading your equipment. I completely agree. I do have just a 2.4 gig SSID set on purpose, just so that we can have a look at what is going on, the difference between 2.4 and 5 gig. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to plug in the WLAN Pi so I can show you how we can see the information coming in from the WLAN Pi. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I've just plugged in my WLAN Pi, and now I want to have a look in Wi-Fi Explorer Pro from what my WLAN Pi is seeing rather than what my MacBook Pro is seeing. So what I do is I need to go over to this top left hand part of the screen and select the drop down, and now I can see I've got an option of passive single channel, directed listener, and then external adapters, WLAN Pi, and then remote sensors. Underneath that is Devin sensor. Now this is the legend himself, Mr. Devin Aiken. Myself and Max sat his wireless adjuster class, and I thought I knew how to use Wi-Fi Explorer Pro and quite a lot of the features, but wow, I learned so much when I went on to Devin's wireless adjuster course around how to really get the best out of Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. This video is just a kind of high level review of my experience from using it and how amazing I think it is, but I couldn't recommend highly enough if you can get the chance to attend one of Devin's wireless adjuster classes, because you'll learn so much from Devin, from his vast Wi-Fi knowledge, but also he'll show you in detail over the course of 2 days how to really get the best out of Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. But yeah, now let me connect to the WLAN Pi. So once we select that, it was basically going to say I'm going to lose my current results. Do I want to save them? No, I'm not going to save them for now. I'm just going to go onto my WLAN Pi. It does take a few moments for it to start kicking in and start scanning, and then for them details to come into Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, but there we go. We are now using my WLAN Pi to see what is going on in my RF environment. So on the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz, and or all of them. So there we go. That's how we can plug in the WLAN Pi, and now we are seeing how my RF environment is seen from the WLAN Pi's point of view. Again, really nice feature that all I did is I literally just plugged it into my adapter, and it just came on in a matter of moments, and now we see that information in here. So that's great. That was one of the things I wanted to show you with WiFi Explorer Pro. Let me connect the WiFi DBX and then show you how we see spectrum information in WiFi Explorer Pro. So I've just connected my WiFi DBX dongle to my MacBook Pro, and I've unplugged my WLAN Pi, and I've gone back to using my MacBook to scan the wireless environment. So now if we take a look at the spectrum view with my WiFi DBX dongle plugged in, we see RF spectrum now. We see the raw RF information, which we was not seeing before, which is really cool, and I really like that you can see this with the WiFi DBX into WiFi Explorer Pro. I think it's amazing that this software can do that. At the moment, I've got it looked in on just a 2.4 gigahertz frequency, but what I can do, if you go to the spec and we can choose if you want to do it on the 2.4 only, or the 5 gig only, or do you want to do it on the both bands. So I'm gonna just set it to full 5 gigahertz band now, and then flip over to the 5 gig frequency, and then we'll start to see the spectrum information in here as well, and we can see in here the 5 gigahertz RF spectrum now, which is amazing really. So just as simple as that, you just plug in the dongle, you select what frequency you want to have a look at, 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or dual band, and you can see that information in here as well, which is really cool feature to have in WiFi Explorer Pro. What you can also do is you can grab an image, rather than having to, what I would do before is I would take a screenshot of the spectrum view if I wanted to show a customer, or actually, your channels are really high channel utilization, or just an example, I would take a screenshot. But what you can do, you can just click and drag to your desktop from the spectrum view, and it will create an image for you with the details, which simple but really effective and can save you some time. So that's how we can see the RF spectrum information from the WiFi DBX. I'll just pause the video again whilst I unplug that, and I will plug in the Zigbee dongle. So if I just show you first that on the Zigbee over here, it says I've got no device connected, and you need a rapid connect USB stick to be able to see Zigbee networks. Don't get too excited, guys. I haven't got any Zigbee around, I'm afraid, but once I install a few drivers and patch this in, I will be able to see the Zigbee info. So let me just do that for you right now to show you. So 1 second. So I've just plugged in my my dongle, and now we can see that here we would be able to see Zigbee information if there was any Zigbee devices around. I'm really sorry and disappointed that I haven't got anything here to show you. I haven't been able to get to a customer site or somewhere else since I've had the dongle to capture any Zigbee information to demonstrate to you guys, but hopefully you can see that we would be able to see this information with this dongle. So if you do have any IoT devices at home that use Zigbee, or you want to do some Zigbee troubleshooting and you're trying to think of a way, how can I do that? WiFi Explorer Pro and this Zigbee dongle, and you'll be able to see it. So again, another amazing feature. And then probably one of the most powerful features that I did not know about with WiFi Explorer Pro that is so helpful. You can just drag and drop a packet capture into WiFi Explorer Pro, and it will display those details in WiFi Explorer Pro for you. So I've got a packet capture from when I just was sitting around in an office having a coffee, but just doing a packet capture as you do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop it into WiFi Explorer Pro, and then we'll see the information change from my current network to the PCAP. Hopefully, I'm not sure if you guys can see that yet until I drop it. It's going to say don't save. I'm not going to save, but there we go. Now we can see I was in a WeWork building which had well, I think I was going to copy that. Yeah, so I just did a packet capture, and we've got the information here from a PCAP, and we can go and have a look at what how their RF environment is. So again, just quickly clicking on this Cisco Meraki unconfigured SSID 6 or Island Poke guest. They've got a 80 megahertz wide channel on, you're taking up the Uni 1 band to 36 to 48, and then their primary channel of 44, which we can see from the way that the orange is colored in with the lines here. So that's just another amazing feature from Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, the fact that we can have a look at a packet capture inside of Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. Is just blows my mind at how good this software is. And one thing I want to call out is that Adrian's moving from using like kind of he's got more than just one application. He's got like Wi-Fi signal transfer and airport utility. I use all of them, so I will do other videos on those devices as well. But what I want to just call out is the fact that Adrian's moving from, this was a side job for him, creating something as good as this, where he did as like a side job whilst he was working full time doing something else. But he is moving to do just application development full time now. And I'm not sure I'm going to do his company name justice, because I'm not sure how you say it, but the company's called Intuitibits. I just said that really bad. I'm really sorry. I will put a link to his new business and where the apps are moving to in the notes of this video. I'm really sorry, Adrian. I messed that up so bad. But yeah, great guy. We recorded a podcast with Adrian on our Wi-Fi Ninjas podcast, and I will put a link to that as well in the notes for this video, so you can listen back to that as well. And then again, lastly, Devin Akin's wireless adjuster class. If you can get a chance to, I highly recommend that you get on there so you can learn how to do more with Wi-Fi Explorer Pro that you probably thought was possible, even to the point where I didn't. There's so many things in there that I didn't know it could do that it does. So I'll put a link to how you can get in contact with Devin on there about his classes as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the Wi-Fi tools that we've been doing the videos on. That we'll do some more, and we will see you guys very soon.